Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Deals podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle Simmons. I am here today with Cindy Beier. And I love that that's your last name, by the way, since you're an investor.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here with me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yeah, often I will say that to people. I'll say my last name is Beier, like buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except it's not spelled.
Right.
How do you spell your last name?
It's Beier. So I say to most people who can recognize this, it's beer with an I in the middle.
Beer. Oh, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, beer with an I in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's Beier. Yeah.
Now I'll remember that.
Yeah, there you go. It'll be much easier from now on. And hopefully maybe some of the folks who are listening today.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll get into your story and all the ways people can connect with you. I do want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, Builders Outlet. Builders Outlet is your go-to for windows, cabinets, doors, and trim. You can check them out by going to the warehouse here in Denver. It's right by the stadium. Or go online to buildersoutletco.com. Okay, hard part out the way.
Absolutely.
So, Cindy, have you ever been to Builders Outlet?
I don't think I have, but when I was listening to you describe the location, I'm like, maybe I have been there. So I'm probably going to check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when I came in studio, I was looking at the background here, touching and feeling it, because I'm like, when you're in real estate, you always want to know what's the textures or what is this made of? How can I use this somewhere else?
Yeah.
Probably.
And like the doors, the everything that we pretty much have here was sourced largely from, because that's our partner's company. He owns that company.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of that was sourced from there. And
Yeah.
you know, the aesthetic here is kind of cute.
Yeah, it is.
So you get some of this in some of your properties.
Yeah, I used to go to Home Depot, and but this is when you could track your person, on the phone. You know how you can track somebody. This is at the very beginning, and he would call me and he would say, "What are you doing?" And I would say, "Nothing."
Wait, your husband?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jokingly, because I'm like, he's like, "What are you doing?"
he's like, "Why are you at Home Depot again?"
Right. And I'm like, "I'm just window shopping."
You can go window shop at Builders Outlet.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
see what they have. Yeah.
that's stuff I love to do. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, I know a little bit about you, but of course we want our viewers, our listeners to know more about Cindy and what you do. So what do you currently do in real estate? I see you're rocking your company shirt here today.
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Emerald Peak Solutions.
Yes. Emerald Peak Solutions, where we're building wealth under your roof. So when I say that, I mean, I am helping my investors passively increase their income under their roof, because a lot of times I feel like when we invest elsewhere, it's not always for you or for me. It's not, we're not making money for us. We're not helping increase our net worth. And I want to help people increase their net worth personally. So I help them invest passively in a lot of different things. Often it's multifamily investing, where you invest a certain amount and we hang on to it and invest it in the property, stabilize it if it's a value add property or something. And then 2 to 5 years later, you either have a large return, like at year 2 when you refinance, or at year 5, then we usually cash you out at that point. So
nice.
That's a little bit about multifamily that I help people with.
And in some of those opportunities, right, some of your investors can get even monthly cash flow.
Absolutely, yes.
Some of those projects.
Monthly. Actually, it's more like quarterly. Monthly is kind of difficult. That's a lot of, moving parts for operators. But, usually it could be quarterly. So it just depends on the project and what the numbers look like. I'm currently working on one that is a new construction property. So it's not really a property. It's sort of land at this point.
Right.
Anyway.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm working on a 3T property. Well, we call it the 3T with narrate. And it's 3 properties. One is in Wash Park. It's going to be a Class A property. And then there's 2 in Colorado Springs. One is on Weber, and it's currently vacant land. And then one in downtown Colorado Springs where they're going to tear down a building and then build something in its place, like a multi-use property. So residential, commercial, and I believe there's even parking. So that would be nice. Yeah.
And some retail space.
Yes.
Type of multi-use property, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm raising capital for right now. And that's what I do every day is I just talk to people about how they're going to invest their money. So it's good when I see people investing when they don't even realize they can. That's what I really love about it. You know, a lot of people say, well, do you work with high net worth individuals? And I say, yes.
Yeah.
But I also work with the average Joe. And I try to get them in, you know, even at the minimum investment amount, which is usually $25,000. And people don't really know how they can invest sometimes.
Right.
I just love educating them.
I love that.
Yeah, right now.
And I love that you educate people on, like, you know, you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions to invest in some of these projects. You can have 25 grand, which is attainable, you know, to a large number of people who have some additional capital, or even if that's their big tax return that they get once a year, you know, and they're like, hey, I think it's time to do something with this money that's outside of the box. You can come in and help give them some options that are tangible.
Exactly. That's what I love about real estate too. And one of the things I just had a webinar on last week was about self-directed IRAs. And people don't realize that they can take their IRAs and 401ks and turn those into a self-directed plan where they can actually invest in real estate. And my husband and I actually took all of our funds when I wasn't as educated as I am now. I cashed in my 401k and we put it into real estate.
Nice.
So recently we found what we call dead money in a couple of accounts, and it added up to about 22,000. And we threw in another couple thousand, and I invested in a multifamily project in Mississippi.
Nice.
And I've already had quarterly returns twice.
Wow.
So I'm super excited about that because the money was just sitting there in accounts doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
So.
And what kind of returns are you seeing that, or like, can you give us an average maybe of what would be considered a good return on these types of investments?
Yeah, usually it's around, I would say a minimum of 9%.
Okay.
Would be a minimum. Anywhere upwards of, it just depends on the project. I hate to throw out numbers. I always say, don't give exact numbers. You know, I mean, I can even help people get 20% returns on certain things.
Heck yeah.
So just depending on the project, because I also do help people fund projects through private money. And so often they become private money partners, and they are able to make a little higher return. So
do you do that with like fix and flip lending for those shorter term deals that are going to be like, they put in the money, maybe it's just renovation funds, and they go into second lien position typically, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of the time.
Yeah. And then they're going to get maybe 30-40%, depending on, you know, how the deal's structured, but they're going to get a lot more on their capital.
Yeah.
With higher risk.
Right.
Like, that's always the factor with those.
It truly is. So yeah, you have to decide what your risk tolerance is.
Right.
And everybody has a different risk tolerance. My risk tolerance is high.
Right.
And so, but I do, you know, when I have people with low risk, I'm like, okay, what I like to do is try to find out what people's goals are. You know, what do you need? Do you need cash flow? Or can we just throw this into a multifamily deal that's not going to have any returns for 4 years and you're okay with that?
Right.
You know, it just depends on what their goals are. So I want to help them with their goals. I'm not going to try to put them into a scenario that fits me. I want it to fit them. So that's usually my first question is, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what I do. Again, like I said, I like to educate people. I never thought that I could own a multifamily property or be a general partner or a limited partner on a multifamily property.
Right.
Never in my lifetime did I think that that would be a possibility.
That you'd be here now doing this.
Exactly. And people say, how did you get into this? Well, I kind of fell into it, but it's because I built my career step by step, and I went from being a licensed realtor many years ago to then working for a builder in new construction sales, managing a real estate office. And then I took a few years off to be with my children.
Nice.
However, I still had the real estate bug. So we bought houses that nobody else really wanted to, and we lived in them and we fixed them up while my kids were napping. I was painting or whatever it was, right? And repairing the home. And we did that 3 times.
Nice.
Yeah. And people thought we were kind of crazy. But
It is kind of crazy.
yeah. I mean, one of the properties we made $100,000 in 2 years.
Wow.
Just while living in it and renovating it.
Live and flip.
Yeah, a live and flip. So we did that 3 times.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And all of them you flipped. So you didn't keep any of them as rental properties?
No.
Okay.
No.
So at what point did you decide to do some buy and hold?
I'm trying to remember when I got my first property. I just, because we had cashed in that 401k, I didn't, my thing was I like to do everything myself. But now that I'm more experienced, I realize that the way to grow is to not do everything yourself.
Right.
And I wanted to do it all myself. So that's why I cashed it in, because part of the self-directed IRA is that you're not supposed to really be doing the work yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the benefit of investing in a passive income or a passive investment with your self-directed, is because you're not doing anything. It's passive.
Right.
But when you become more of an active individual in the deal, then you can't, really use your self-directed. So live and learn, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm, like I said, educating people. But anyway, we cashed that in and we bought a property, and I held on to that for 7 years.
Nice.
And then during COVID,
Did you bought it to be a rental property from the
Yes.
beginning? Okay.
We did. And that particular house was a short sale, and then the folks claimed bankruptcy.
Oh.
And so I had that property under contract for probably 8 months. And I kept saying to my realtor, when is this going to, when are we going to close? When are we going to close? I didn't have as much experience. And he had talked me into offering $10,000 over the asking price. And I was like, would I want to do that? I bought that house for $275,000 in Castle Rock.
Wow.
In 2000, oh goodness, I can't even remember, 2013 maybe.
Wow.
And in 2020 during COVID, I sold it and I bought 3 properties.
Yeah, because I can imagine you sold it for upwards of 5+.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
And so, and that had a lot of work in the yard. And I thought, I don't want to do that. It was a big yard. The tenants could never keep up with it. So I bought 3 condos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got 3 condos. I've got a short-term rental now
Love
that we really enjoy.
Yeah.
And a property in Tennessee. And then I've got my multifamily. So
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So you built quite the portfolio now in 20 years-ish, right?
yeah,
And you
probably, well, yeah. So looking back, and let me tell you, actually it was from 2000, maybe, when did we buy? I'm trying to think. It's hard to think back that far, right? So maybe my daughter was in 4th grade and she's graduating college
now.
So it's not quite 20 years. But we had lived in Michigan. My husband's from there. And we came back, we sold our house. This is a story for people who don't think they can or think I have nothing. You can build your portfolio from nothing if you, just stay focused. But we came back from Michigan and we sold our house and we were happy we didn't need to bring money to closing. He got like $500 at closing after we had put down like 30 grand when we bought the house. But the market was down and we were just thankful that we didn't have to bring money to closing.
Yeah.
So we came back to Colorado and we bought a house when you could for really nothing down. And that's when it all really started over, was when we came back to Colorado, and then we just built on that.
Love it.
So, yeah.
And so your husband didn't have experience in real estate either.
No, he does not have experience in real estate. He likes to do his own thing, and this is my thing.
Right.
He is a pilot and an engineer.
Wow.
And he is, the technical side, or sometimes he's my assistant. I just talked to him on the way here. I'm like, could you go on my laptop and do such and such with this, particular thing? So he works from home doing engineering, but then he also flies private
That's so cool.
jets and stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love the dynamic, like, you're a woman and you're the one like in the real estate, which a lot of times we see is predominantly male dominated. But here you are, a woman, and you're like, this is my thing, and this is what I'm going into. And your husband doesn't really have any direct involvement in it, right? It's your thing, but I love that.
No, he said he married me because I had a toolbox. He had never met a woman with a toolbox. So that's why he said he married me. I don't know. That's true. But it's funny. Today I got a call on one of my properties, and they wanted to know if they could speak to my husband. And I'm like, no.
For what?
Yeah. And so they told me they were calling about one of my condos that I had for sale in the fall that I ended up taking off the market because things were slow. And so I was like, and when you call back, you don't need to ask for my husband. Just ask for me.
Yeah.
So we did actually have a nice conversation, the gentleman and I, and who knows, it could lead to something. So, but
This is your tenant that called you?
no, it was because I had a property and it was listed and we took it off the market. So, agents will call you and say, oh, you have a withdrawn listing. Why did you withdraw it? That type of thing. So
It was an agent calling you, and he asked to speak with your husband.
yes.
Is your husband's name the name on title?
It may be. I think we both are. I'm pretty sure we both are.
Okay.
But maybe because he's listed first. But
They
they never call and say, can I speak to Mr. and Mrs. Beier or Mr. and Mrs.,
Right.
But they always just ask for him originally.
Assume that that's the decision maker. Right.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Nope, it's you. You're the boss. I love it.
yeah. So I taught him at the beginning because he's an engineer. What do engineers like to do? They want to read every word at the closing table on the closing documents. I said, no, stop. Well, by the time you get to the closing, everything is, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. Really, it's just a legality, right? Everything has been gone through. Title is not going to let you buy a house that doesn't have the right document.
Right.
And so I'm like, your job is to go there and just sign.
Because he wants to analyze every little thing as an engineer would.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you can't do that, So I kind of trained him. So he's really good now. We even bought a house that he didn't see for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think we overnighted him the documents or something. I can't remember if I was here and he was in Michigan and we were in, transition somewhere or what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because it's very difficult for anybody, I think, married or not married, whatever, like to make decisions in real estate, to make commitments to buying or selling or, taking on a rental property. It's difficult to have the courage, I would say, to like make that leap on your own. Right. And then especially if you're doing it on your own, like, of course, you have your husband's backing and support and encouragement regardless. But to not have that soundboard, to be like, hey, analyze these numbers with me. Like, am I doing this right? Does this look like a good deal? But to still have the courage to be like, well, I understand this enough. And I have faith in me. I have faith in my understanding that this makes sense and it's a good buy for us. And being willing to like take that leap, it says a lot because it takes a lot of courage.
Thank you. Yes, it does. And that's just always been me. Like the whole self-directed, I want to do it myself type of person. So, yeah. I often do that is I just kind of leap in and figure out a way, you know. My in-laws, hopefully they're not listening. They would always say, well, we can't do that because, and I'm always like, we can do that because.
Yeah.
So let's figure it out, you know. But what I have learned over the years is to really network. And that's really, though, how you can expand and grow.
Yeah.
So now I have a huge network of friends who speak the same language as me. And, you know, it's funny because I get calls from guys, you know, all the time that are in my network that I'm working with. And thankfully, my husband is not, you know, wondering, who's this jealous? You're jealous, guy. And he'll go, who's that? Oh, it's so, oh, okay. You know, whatever. But yeah, I'm constantly on the phone with somebody and we're talking about numbers. And he's just glazed over. He's like, no idea. He's looking at me like, what are we buying now? I don't know yet. Let me figure it out. But, you know, yeah, that is one thing that I love. So I've expanded my network to the multifamily. I do have a couple friends who are very good at analyzing multifamily deals.
Yeah.
I just do the capital raising.
Right.
And they'll analyze, find the deals, and then they say, hey, we need to raise some capital. I'm like, I'm here.
Right.
Let's go. So
and that's a really cool setup too, which I'm learning, you know, and as I get closer to you and in your network as well, it's really cool that you can just like focus on what you're good at, right? You're really good at networking. It's really great to be able to focus on building that network and bringing in the money, so that you don't feel like you have to learn everything there is to learn about how to analyze a multifamily project and development from the ground up. You don't have to know that. You just got to focus, stay in your lane, and like do what you know how to do.
Absolutely.
And then you guys come together.
Yep.
Right. And as you know, in real estate, a lot of us, I was one of these people once upon a time. A lot of us want to do everything on our own, you know, and like you said. So to go from being able to purchase typically single family homes on our own that we're analyzing by ourselves, we understand, we're closing on, you know, doing all that alone, shifting into a whole nother space in multifamily where it's very much a team effort. Like you can't, I mean, I'm sure you could, but
you'd be crazy at the end.
Why would you want to?
Right. You wouldn't want to. You have to be part of a team.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I do love. And so even though my husband, he's kind of he's on the bench. We call him in whenever we need somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have several teams that I'm working with and I capital raise for. So that's why I'm able to do different things.
Yeah.
And I like to talk with my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun. So yeah, I'm doing some capital raising for a team here in Denver who does flips. And I have a gentleman in Ohio that I work with quite often. Nice. And he'll call me every other month. I need to raise such and such, you know. Right. So
and I'm just going to shout out the obvious. Like a lot of our viewers, a lot of people that are a part of our network or our community, they may think that they need to know how to do the deals. But like you're living proof that you can raise capital. Yeah, I want to say just raise capital, but it's not a small thing.
No,
but like you have focus, that can be your niche.
Right, exactly. And who thought? When I tell people I raise capital, they look at me, what does that mean, first of all? And how did you get into this?
Right.
And I didn't even know what it was either. You don't realize. So it's just, I like talking to people and networking, and that's two of the skills that you need.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I mean, just in the time I've known you, I'm encouraged to like focus more on that space too, you know, because I've mostly done wholesaling and buy and hold, but I see how beneficial it is to just tap into my network, which is a very large network, and just say, hey guys, like we got some deals, we got some fix and flips, we got some multifamilies, like you guys want to put your money in passively and see your return. And I'm seeing the value in that now from you guys.
Yeah. And the team I work with in Denver, we're going to try to start having webinars every other week, I think. I don't know if that's too big a goal, where they can actually go over deals and show people and be very transparent. This is how we do it.
Right.
And maybe that'll encourage people to maybe step out of their comfort zone and try doing real estate or doing a flip or whatever. Or maybe they'll want to become a private lender. One of the two. I have a gal yesterday that finally got out of her comfort zone while I was thinking about when I was saying that. And she finally, did it. I pushed her a little bit, not off the cliff, but I gave her a little push and we've got her in a deal.
Nice.
And so I'm like, it's going to be fine. And I don't work with people that I don't like, know, and trust. And I am not going to have somebody invest in a deal that I personally wouldn't invest in myself. So I try to tell people that. That's where I'm at. And I say, I'm not going to put you somewhere where you're not going to get your funds back, where I don't think you are.
Right.
I mean, crazy stuff happens. It's real estate, right?
Right.
But I would never put somebody in that situation. So I feel like integrity is one of the biggest things that you need to have in this business.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's how you build those long-term relationships. And it sounds like, so with that lady, was this a relationship that you've been cultivating for a while?
She's in one of my groups and she's lingering on the outskirts and she went and got her business credit card and it's just sitting there, so I showed her how you can acquire your business funds and I'm like, here, let's just get you in this deal. Let's just get you in here.
Nice.
And so she jumped in with $20,000.
Nice.
Yeah. So not a lot.
Right.
And it's business credit.
Yeah.
So she's building her credit now.
Yeah.
You've got to get that. You've got to use that money. You can't just let it sit there.
Yeah.
You worked hard to acquire that. Let's use it.
And it's not going to earn you much of anything, if anything at all, not on a credit card, but in a savings account even. He's not going to earn you much of anything there.
Absolutely. And that's what happens too. Talking about savings accounts, people are just, they don't realize that this whole world is out there. I didn't realize it till a few years ago.
Right.
And they've got money just sitting in their savings account or their CD or whatever, and they're making, 4 to 6%.
Right.
They can take that and put it into a private money lending deal and they can not double their money. They can earn double digits.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super powerful.
Yeah, definitely. So
what would you say has been the biggest challenge or maybe a bad deal or something? We love to hear all the good.
I know.
But what's something that you would say has been, the biggest challenge or
and one of the things that I love about the business boundary is that you vet people. I love it. Again, back to that integrity. I still have a bad deal right now that's been going on over a year and a half.
Yikes.
So I'm learning a lot. And to quote one of my daughter's soccer coaches, when you win the game, you don't learn anything. When you lose the game, you learn something.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to lose to learn.
Yep.
And that's where I'm at right now.
Do you want to tell us about it?
It's in Tennessee. And it's a sub-2 property.
Okay.
And the gentleman that I loaned the money to, it was a second lien, which it is, it's in a deed of trust. It's recorded. It's there.
You're a second lien position?
Yes, I'm second lien.
Okay.
It's recorded, so I am covered.
Right.
The gentleman had an Airbnb just down the street, and he was going to do the same thing with this one.
Right.
So, and he had 5-star reviews and everything else.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. That's what I said. We thought. Right.
Question.
So couple of things I've learned. So I always like to ask for referrals of people that they have lent money to. So I did. I called a gentleman and I said, has he been making the payments? He said, yes. I should have said, if you had the opportunity to lend to this person again, would you?
That's a very different question.
Yes. And that's the question I ask now. So that's one lesson.
Yeah.
The other lesson is that, well, he just honestly didn't follow through. And right now that property is probably 3 months behind.
Yikes.
And
In mortgage payments.
In mortgage.
Also affecting the homeowner,
Yes.
the mortgage holder who he purchased that property from, subject to. That's not affecting them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. There's a lot more to it. He could have sold the property and he didn't want to do that. Now he's like, oh, well, I'll just give you the property. Well, great. You're $12,000 behind on the mortgage. I've got a large chunk in there, a little over $40,000 in there.
Jeez.
And it's going to take another probably 20 grand to get it cleaned up.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to be over leveraged if I take it on.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to ask myself, should I just walk away? I can make $40,000 lending my money.
And you can sue him, can't you?
It's gonna cost money.
Yeah.
I've talked to my lawyer. I already have a lawyer. Yeah, I think I know half the town now. The realtor.
All the people you've been reaching out to get more info now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm not the only one. There are others that he's done this to, so we're talking about banding together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there's always bad players.
Yeah.
And I think in this business, though, they end up showing their true colors eventually, and they are out of the industry.
Right. And that's why we're, like you said, at Business Foundry within Real Estate Deal Makers as a whole, we're very adamant about, first and foremost, we want to create a space where everyone feels comfortable telling the truth, So we've already had several people who have joined as verified members, and they come in and the first thing they do is like, oh, these are all the situations. These are all the people I've been screwed by. And these are their names. And this is their Facebook profile. This is their email. And this is their phone number. And so for me, it's important that we create that space where all of us who come in to create a safe space, we can talk about those things without shame or, feeling like it's
feeling guilty that you're talking bad about somebody who's done you wrong.
Right. What is that? Psychologically, why do we do that? I don't know. But yeah. And so I want us to feel good about, I don't know if that's the right word, but we want to feel good about being able to share that, like, hey, this is where I maybe made a poor decision to trust this person. And they didn't hold up their end of the deal. And so we can keep a list of these people.
Yeah.
And we can all know collectively, like, these are people we don't want to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is such a small community. You've seen me. I walk in, I'm like, oh, hey, I know you and you, and with the way technology is today too, as well. I was in Atlanta at a conference and I saw somebody there that I know from Colorado.
Wow.
It's just crazy. And then you're on Zooms with people in other states and you run into them at wherever. You just don't know. And even though it might be real estate investing in Colorado, real estate investing in Tennessee, you're still going to know somebody. And I do. I know somebody right there. I have a friend in Florida who keeps an eye on something out there for me, And so we all know people in different states. And especially if you network a lot and join a lot of different groups. So, everybody knows who's who.
Yeah, because it really is like its own world where you speak a certain language, like you said, like you connect with people who speak your language. So, they can't go too far.
No.
We hope.
Right. Right. Or maybe they go really far. We never see them again.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this ends for you soon. This difficulty you're facing with that property in Tennessee right now. Hopefully you guys come to some conclusion soon. And I've been there too. I took a $40,000 loss on a property in Texas. That was supposed to be my vacation home. And because of my lack of due diligence on a subject to that I was purchasing, and I had less than 10 days to close.
That makes it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got an inspector didn't get a foundation inspector. And the initial inspector said that there were not serious concerns for the foundation stuff, that they were like minor, normal settling.
Yeah.
Turned out to be more like a $50,000 to $70,000 foundation issue.
Wow.
That was not accounted for in my budget whatsoever. I was using private funds from a lender who gives me money for about a 5-year term.
Mm-hmm.
So I could do more of those somewhat long-term plays.
Yeah.
Hold on to it as an Airbnb. So I go and I fully furnish this house, paint it, fully furnish it, all within 3 weeks. And go to hire a property management company. I forget the name. It's one of those big popular ones.
Yeah.
Bring them out. They're like, oh yeah, this place is lovely, blah, blah, blah. There's a big pool and hot tub in the back. And like built in, in the ground. And there's all this flagstone around it. Well, some of it was like this, in certain places.
Right.
And my lack of knowledge and understanding of foundation movement and settling, I didn't realize that that's an obvious sign that there's a really big problem.
Was it with the soils?
Yes.
Okay.
As a whole, in that entire area.
Oh my, yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we can't rent this place on our platform because it's a safety concern. Because someone could easily trip over this flagstone and, go face first into the pool, bump their head, whatever. So you gotta fix all of this. So I get a bid and it's like $8,000.
Okay, yeah. You're like, $8,000, okay, yeah, not.
Right. I'm going to go in the whole $8,000, but then I can get it rented. It'll take me a little bit more time to see a return. Not too big of a deal. But then they're like, yeah, but there's no point in redoing all this flagstone when the foundation is still bad, because it's going to continue to shift. And so it could be a matter of months, because San Antonio at the time was going through like a drought, like a dry season.
Oh.
So they were seeing so much movement in the soil because it was abnormally dry. And so they're explaining all of this to me, and they're just like, yeah, you need to fix the foundation first. Then we can do the flagstone. And yeah, I'm like, 50 to 80 grand. No, just no.
So what did you do? I got to hear.
I listed it on the market for less. Luckily, I bought it with some equity, which, if you're buying a subject to, you always want to try to get in with some equity, unless you have a very high risk tolerance. I think I had got in with like 70 grand in equity when I first purchased it, and had put in about 25, I'd say, maybe closer to 30. And so I just ended up listing it on the market with an agent for less than market value to get it off quick. It still took about 2.5 months to get it sold, and I ended up losing 40 grand.
Yeah. So did you, when you listed it, you just said, this is what I know about the property, and yeah, I'm not going to spend the money if you can spend the money. And yeah.
And I sold it fully furnished. Like, they got everything that was there. I was like, I'm just done.
Right. You too. Sometimes you get to that point, and I'm trying to decide with mine, am I just done? So sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing your struggle there.
Yeah.
And all of the good things too. It sounds like you create a lot of positive opportunities for people, and life-changing. Like, really, like, let's call it what it is. That what you help people create is life-changing.
I try, yeah, because I didn't grow up with a lot myself. And again, like I said, I never thought I'd be where I am. And I'm thankful for that. And I want to help other people obtain the things that they want to obtain as well.
Yes, I love that. Love it. Well, thank you. So how can our viewers find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah,
how can they find you?
Absolutely. I have a website. It's Emerald Peak Solutions. Got my shirt on here. It has this logo on there. They can find me there, fill out a little form, or they can just reach out to me and call me or text me.
I give your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 303-229-0023. Cindy, yep, at Emerald Peak Solutions. So reach out to me and let me know how I can help you.
Yes. And Cindy is also a verified investor within the real estate deal makers community. So you can find her on Facebook within our private pages as well. So Cindy and last name Beier.
Correct.
Now I got it. Since you gave me the Beier trait. Yeah, now I got it. All right.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
Of course. That is it for us today, y'all. Until next time.